some items that appeared in the news this week. I hope you're keeping well.
Yes, we're
And
doing our best in these circumstances.
Thank you very much once again. Thank you very much. Still in lockdown, I would imagine, like everyone else. There were two particular news items that I wanted to address today. The first being about the lawyer from the Attorney General's office who resigned and moved over to the defense team of Yorgen Fenech, who's accused with masterminding the assassination of Daphne Caruana Galizia. There's obviously a lot of issues there, and I just wonder whether you could explain the implications of this, the conflict of interest, and also, is this a precedent?
Of course, this particular move was a rather insensitive move, to say the least. Although the lawyer in question declared that he had never handled the case relating to the assassination of Caruana Galizia. Unfortunately, on the outside, the image given, the impression given, is one which completely continues to, unfortunately, threaten the very existence and the very raison d'etre of the Office of the Attorney General, and further undermines this important institution. It is also, in my opinion, a situation where it further undermines and gives the wrong impression that in this country it is a situation as if anything goes. This is very unfortunate because it indirectly also affects those persons within the Attorney General's office who do appreciate the importance of the institution and who do their utmost to carry out their job and to carry it out properly. So I would describe it as highly insensitive and a move which wasn't, to say the least, well thought out. Does it cause a precedent? It doesn't cause a precedent because there were lawyers who left the Attorney General's office and went to work in private practice. That point alone means that it does not cause a precedent. However, it does cause a precedent insofar as this lawyer left the Attorney General's office yesterday and started working and representing Yorgen Fenech less than 24 hours after having given his notice. And yes, that is a precedent. Why is it a precedent? Because in such a high-profile case, it is anticipated that the office, in some way, the Office of the Attorney General, would have in some way or another all been involved, would have discussed it, would have spoken up, would have also discussed internally, even perhaps during their very same breaks. So does it look good? It doesn't look good at all. The fact that this move happened so quickly also must lead us to the conclusion that talks were being carried out in order for this move to take place, even while the lawyer in question was still working at the Attorney General's office. Because, as I explained, the resignation was handed in in an afternoon, and the following morning, less than 12 hours later, he was making representations in the case which Yorgen Fenech has instituted against the Attorney General himself. So in that regard, yes, it is an unfortunate precedent.
I know that the family of Daphne Caruana Galizia are objecting very strongly to it. Is there any way that this can be stopped or prevented now, that this gentleman is representing the defense team?
Well, basically, this is really an issue for the Commission of the Administration of Justice to decide whether it feels that it has to set into motion, and for the Chamber of Advocates, to a certain extent, whether it feels that it has to set into motion any issues regarding breach of ethics, breach of lawyers' ethics, and whether any consequential decisions are taken on account of this fact. These are the methods that are available in order for the possibility of this to happen, in order for consequences and repercussions to take place. I also understand that they have asked for an inquiry, but the the worst thing in all this is that the general feel would be that this important case could have been compromised. The message, the feeling outside, the feeling with people outside, and even with foreigners and with other foreign institutions who are looking on us with spotlights and who are checking our every decision, it sends out the wrong vibes, it sends out the wrong messages, it sends out the wrong signals. And unfortunately, a time where we are trying so hard and where we have to be concentrating so much on trying to regain the reputation of our country, which has been so badly damaged by this Labour government, this particular move continues to push it further down.
Is there any way that this process that happened can be stopped from happening again another time, in another instance, in another case?
Well, we have a code of ethics, we have a code of standards, which we lawyers are meant to abide by. So it also comes from the individual lawyer to understand the sensitivity of a particular case and the sensitivity of a particular issue, and to understand and to give an interpretation to the ethics that surround our profession, which transcends our vision of what being a lawyer is. Ethics are very important in every profession. Ethics are very, very important. And the only way to stop this is either by, first and foremost, it comes from each and every one of us as lawyers to understand what our ethical standards are and to abide by those ethical standards. It's the first way to stop. The second way is that perhaps time has come that when these things do happen, perhaps there should be regulations which actually prohibit it from happening, which are perhaps more clear than ethical codes.
So in Malta, there's nothing such as, for example, a 3-month period break, gardening leave, whatever you may call it. In this case, before one stops somewhere and goes somewhere, that is perhaps...
No. The only thing that comes to mind is that there is a provision in the criminal code which creates a criminal offence whereby it is an offence for a person who is a lawyer to be first representing the interests of A in one case, and then shifts and defends the interests of the opposing party. That in itself is a criminal offence. In this particular situation, the lawyer concerned has stated that although he worked within the Office of the Attorney General, he himself personally was not involved in the Daphne Caruana Galizia case, so he's, so to say, defending himself in this way. And while this might possibly be true, the fact remains that the move itself was rushed and insensitive in the circumstances and lacked the required foresight which would be expected from a lawyer who is practicing here in Malta and who also has to definitely keep in mind that there is something more than just appearing in a case. There is something more than being mentioned in a newspaper for appearing in a particular case. There are certain standards which we have to adhere to and which we have to abide by, which not abiding by them harms, 1, the profession, 2, your colleagues, 3, more importantly, in this case, our own country and its institutions.
As an experienced lawyer yourself, would you think that a move like that for an individual would tarnish his reputation in his future career?
Unfortunately, yes. And I would say that he has started very much on the long foot.
I'd like to touch on a second news item that we saw this week about public funds that are being used to boost social media of some of the government officers. Your views on that, perhaps, Dr. Giglio? Thank you.
Yes, basically the situation is such that it has transpired from a report commissioned by the Commissioner of Standards that a minister has a Facebook page which in actual fact is not his personal Facebook page, but the Facebook page of his ministry. And then the same minister would have a personal Facebook page which is intended to promote his political agenda, which is intended to promote his political aspirations. So you have the Facebook page of the ministry, which is there to give information, which is there to explain to the public what that ministry is doing. And then the minister who has his own personal page, which is there. As you know, social media today is the medium to advertise, is the medium to be in touch with people, is the medium to get into contact, is the medium how to basically put propaganda for yourself. Full stop. This is what social media is about insofar as politicians are concerned. Now it has transpired that videos, promotions, adverts, which were in actual fact financed by the ministry and therefore ultimately financed from taxpayers' money, financed from the funds which are public funds, where instead of being used to boost the ministry and its work, they were, on the other hand, and instead used to boost and promote the individual minister. This is something which is not on because obviously the Minister of the Economy is not the Ministry of the Economy. The Ministry of the Economy is a public entity financed by our taxes.
Yes.
The minister is ultimately a politician and cannot be using our own taxes in order to promote and finance his social media.
So what you're saying is the money was used to finance more of a political campaign. Thank you very much once again, Dr. Giglio. You'll be with us again next Tuesday. I thank you once again. I wish you a good evening. Thank you very much for joining us tonight for our brief news summary. I'll be with you tomorrow at 5:40. Dr. Giglio will be with us again next week. Please keep the questions coming in. I'm Leah Hogg for Net News. Good evening.